Well, that was an interesting start to the week and a very bloody Sunday. We are going to be talking about everything going on in Japan, the Middle East, what the Fed is going to do next. And of course, when all this is going down, Kevin is unavailable. All of that stuff. Oh, I think you still have me, I can hear you myself. What is going on there? Okay. Sorry about that, folks. I had the tab open and then I heard myself talking. So no bueno. That's going to be what we're discussing today on Money Never Sleeps. Apparently, I can't be trusted to do anything, so I always screw it up when Kevin's not here. Thanks for joining us today, folks. As we get going, hit that like button. Remember to subscribe, and please remember that nothing that Mr. House or I say is financial advice. So make your own, do your own research for making any buys or sells. House, yesterday was absolutely crazy. We saw the Nikkei dump. Everyone now knows what the yen carry trade is. They're all experts on it on social media. We have to give props to Kevin because he's been calling on this for many months now, and it finally came to fruition. And of course, it happens exactly when he is unavailable to do a show because of work. But you know what? We're going to push on. We're going to persevere. I know that you had a good day yesterday shorting the market. It looks like a lot of people have had that same strategy because it is eating shit. As we speak right now, going into the final hour of the trading day, I'm looking at TradFi. We have the NASDAQ down about 600 points. It was much worse earlier in the day. It touched 1,000 points down, but it rebounded a little bit there. The Dow is down over 1,000. It was also, it was about 1,200 down when we started the trading day. S&P down 3%. The VIX got all the way up to about 65, which is insane. Bitcoin ate a big old plate of shit. At one point, it got down to 49K. ETH went with it. That went to about 2,100. So it is just red across the board. Brutal day in the markets. It's taken a bit of a reprieve, but I'm curious from you, how are you feeling about things? We got a lot to talk about because there's so much going on. But first, I kind of want to get your thoughts on the current state of the market as we sit here now.
I mean, as you led, everyone's got to give some flowers to Kevin. I don't think anyone that isn't, like a backroom macro analyst crunching numbers 24/7 that was exposed in that trade, other than Kevin, knew what was going on with the yen carry trade because he brought it up probably like 9 months ago for the first time. And I was filling in for you, and I was just like, yeah, I know what this is. Totally. The Nikkei? Absolutely. Been trading. And he was just like, no. But last night, or yesterday, maybe in the afternoon, he was like, yeah, Nikkei futures not doing hot. I think if it opens up low Monday, it could be dangerous. So that would have been 8 p.m. last night. Then around 7:30, we texted, and I was like, Kevin, Japanese market analyst, how are Nikkei futures looking? They weren't looking good. So I took a chance, went a little bit short, and as soon as Japanese markets opened, everything started taking a hit. Yen was down, Nikkei was down, and then you saw just Bitcoin, crypto, pretty much all of TradFi as well plummet as the trade was unwinding.
Yeah, it was down about 12% at one point yesterday. The Nikkei was brutal sell-off there. I'm not going to try to pretend like I know everything about the carry trade here. I know like the very basics. People would borrow. The yen was, very undervalued or low, at a low value based on the interest rates there. So people would borrow against it, and we'll have Kevin explain it better.
I think it was just like there was a zero interest on borrowing the yen. So you would borrow yen and then take the trade with that. So you have no exposure on the loan. But then I think Japan raised 50 basis point raise for the first time in 25.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, okay, do you want to take that risk after so much time of no interest on your loan?
Yeah. So that went down. It started to unwind. We saw major sell-offs there that bled into crypto. A lot of panic in the streets. I did see from Arkham Intel that a lot of the big institutions here, the big hedge funds, did not sell their Bitcoin. They've just been accumulating more and more on this dip. Uh, Not the worst idea in the world. We'll see what happens next. Like I mentioned, everything was down much worse when the day started. If you look at where Bitcoin was, it was down under 52. It's now back up. It was at 54 at one point, now back up to like the low 53s, but everything's overbought on the hourly there. Let's go over, see what happened over the weekend. We had more chaos in the Middle East. We think, there's some expectation that Iran is going to attack Israel. Hamas and Hezbollah are going to attack Israel. So we have growing concerns there. We have Trump continuing to step in it and opening the door for Harris to come in. That's caused more fear in the markets, especially in crypto. We had Warren Buffett selling off and Berkshire Hathaway selling off half of their Apple shares, which has led to Apple getting destroyed today. That's been one of the leaders on the way down. So currently down $14 a share is Apple after Berkshire Hathaway disclosed. They now have their largest stockpile of cash. I think I saw a chart that they sold more stocks, more shares last quarter than the entire history of the company. So that's pretty massive. Not a great look, and for one of the most well respected traders out there to make that kind of a play. So definitely some concern on that side of things. A lot going on this week with earnings. We'll see from Berkshire Hathaway actually releasing earnings. Tomorrow we got Airbnb and Caterpillar. Wednesday, just a few are SoftBank, Shopify, Disney, Sony. Not a ton as far as like financial data coming out. We saw a little bit today, some manufacturing data that made the markets happy. There have been talks of like potential emergency 25 basis point rate cut. I don't expect to see that. I think that's a little bit overblown at this point. I'm looking at the CME futures, and markets are now pricing in. This was pretty wild. From a week ago to now, it went from 11% to 84% chance of a 50 basis point cut at the September meeting. So the markets are starting to panic a bit. Now it's about an 85% chance that we're going to see a 100 basis point cut, 100 basis point total cut by the end of the year. So the market clearly expecting the Fed to do a lot. I want to talk with you about the Middle East stuff because I know that you stay very on top of that. What are what do you see there, and how are we expecting markets to respond as, more and more fear of heightened escalation there?
Yeah, I mean, really the biggest provocative movement we'd seen from Iran was the October invasion, and then we've seen them backing the Houthis out of Yemen. So I think, you know, the gravity of whatever their retaliation is really what's going to matter, right? So if it's kind of on par with what's previously happened, it's like, yes, that's scary and that's terrible for all who are affected and involved. But, being a nuclearly capable or a country with nuclear capabilities and with how tense things have been, right? I think it's going to take a direct attack of either U.S. forces or Israeli forces for the market to really start panicking, right? Because when we saw the invasion in October, we were like, okay, things are going to get really bad in the market really fast. And they really didn't, right? There was a small pullback and then it was just back up to level the next day. So I think, it really takes like a lot of fear. And, if you let that compound with where the economy's at, I think another big thing would be, okay, say Iran retaliates and it's something that's looming a little bit heavy. If the West starts talking about response, I think that's where you really start to be like, ooh, this is not good, right? I think it's whatever we see on the surface will look bad, but it's all about how Western authority responds, right? If they're like, okay, this isn't a big deal, like it's a big attack, you know what I'm trying to say? Like it's kind of hard to explain, because no one wants war amidst everything else that's happening. So it just depends on how everyone takes it. We're in a super volatile period, VIX at all time high since COVID. We've got just over 2 months until the election. So I think it's kind of like a really hesitant move to say, like, or not really hesitant move, but just like a very volatile period where I'd be hesitant to lean super strongly into like, we're going full bull or we're going full bear.
Yeah, man, it feels like things just took a little breather here before we continue to see the downtrend, just with so much uncertainty out there, and it's starting to happen now. Like I'm looking at the crypto charts, and we're starting to push down. Bitcoin looks like it wants to go below 53 again. Nvidia taking a bit of a beating, but how are you handling the markets right now? Like, I've made it pretty clear on here that I keep holding, and I bought some more Bitcoin today when it was sub 53. If it goes, I think I think it's likely Bitcoin gets down to 48K at the
Mhm.
very, like, and if it only went to 48K, I think that's the best case scenario. I think it could go much lower right now. But it does give confidence seeing some of these, seeing the big boys out there continuing to accumulate. But what is your current strategy? Because I know that you're much more active in the market than I am. Once again, this is not financial advice, but I'm curious kind of how you're approaching it.
Yeah. So I've been honestly, and this is, I would echo, definitely not financial advice because I've been kind of taking, like, I'd say the past month to really focus on trying to test myself as far as what I think I've learned in trading. So I've definitely been trading a lot more than I normally would, especially given all the volume in the market. It's been kind of a good overlap. But with that being said, right, I'm not really trying to lean too hard into whatever direction we're headed right now is where we're going to be a month from now. So I'm really just looking to scalp some swings and really trade almost solely off of like the day's narrative and where the technicals correspond with that. Which is definitely why I would reiterate, not financial advice because it's not very safe, very risky. But with that being said, I've had some good success. I think like you mentioned, we've seen some of the big institutions buying, which is good, and I think for them who BlackRock, Fidelity, etc., who have primarily been buying post crypto collapse, post 2021, 2022 peak, this quick dip is like, yeah, it might be a little bit unorthodox as they've primarily played in traditional markets, which, 20% crash in a day on an asset's pretty bad. But it's still up from where they bought, right? So BlackRock's been buying this whole dip, like Arkham said. The main institutions you've seen with big outflows have been Galaxy Digital. So thanks, Barry. Um, right. And then you got Jump Trading last
No,
night, who
that's
said,
this is Galaxy. Mike Novogratz,
maybe it's not, maybe it's not, maybe I said the wrong name though. Whatever, which firm is Barry?
Barry Silbert.
Yeah.
He's grayscale.
Grayscale. That's what I was thinking of. All the Grayscale trust outflows, just being dumped, and then Jump Trading last night. They said sayonara to $321 million worth of ETH. Just decided to, keep clipping it off. But even with that, we've seen some good resistance. We've met some resistance points. So, I don't think this is the crypto is the end, right? I think some of those previous crashes when the market was newer, like 2019, 2020 period, there was probably a much more legitimate thought of, oh shit, this could be the end. Because what established products were there within DeFi or different verticals? There really weren't any, right? It was all more of an idea versus now it's pretty hard to say DeFi isn't real. Like there are billions and billions of dollars going through lending markets, perp dexes, et cetera, every day. So I think long term, me being young, I'm just going to try and accumulate as much as I can wherever I feel there are good entries. So keeping my DCAs up, but then also, yeah, if we see Bitcoin retest these lows from yesterday, or like you're thinking, goes down and touches 48, I'll probably buy some spot and just hold on it.
Yeah, I think that I'm not Kevin. I'm not going to try to time the absolute bottom. I'll keep clipping in and adding a little bit more on the way down, because that's just what has worked for me in the past and what I'll continue doing. It was funny seeing Peter Schiff hosting a space yesterday, just like trying to shit all over Bitcoin. I don't know if you saw that one, but gold is getting beat up a little bit too. Obviously not as bad because it's not as volatile of an asset, but Yeah, it's everyone's looking to take their victory laps on crypto right now, which, I get it. Like the haters are gonna keep on hating, and I'll just
I
keep it.
think I think like it's one of those things where it's hard for us who have been in crypto for a little bit and who are actively investing and thinking about it to see some of those quips. But at the same time, if you take a step back and you look at a lot of the people that I wouldn't say are part of the industry, but they trade crypto or they get involved and dabble with NFTs, a lot of them aren't serious people. So now it makes sense to me when they get dunked on and like why.
Yeah.
But for the greater majority, it's like, well, you're dunking on us, but I can dunk on 1,000 different things in your industry that have gone bad. It's just those mistakes are so commonplace that there's not really much of a joke behind it anymore.
Yeah, and it's
Like
it's
CrowdStrike, like you didn't see us just shitting on the rest of the world for using a really shitty centralized software that bottlenecks everything all at one point on every single server instance.
what's funny was one of the trading accounts that follows politicians was tweeting out that like Marjorie Taylor Greene bought like the top of CrowdStrike, and she's just the inverse Pelosi. I mean, it's unreal. And I'm like some of these Jim Cramer, like there was a post from like 3 or 4 days ago where Jim Cramer was like, you know, trying to like calm everyone down, like, oh, everything's fine. And then yesterday happened. It's just like, Jim, can you stop talking for like a day or so? Like you are
Oh,
just mushing everything.
see, he said everything's fine. And then this morning, I'm not sure if you saw it, he said the bottom's in for gold, but crypto's got a lot more room to go. And I was like, oof, Peter Schiff's probably reading this and just like cursing the air.
No, I'm
He's
sure
probably,
Peter Schiff is like was hamming it up because he just he wants to believe that gold is gonna be supreme to Bitcoin. I mean, like I don't know, man.
I mean,
Those
when you're physical gold's biggest fanboy, you kind of have to take the hard stance against digital gold,
yeah,
or you have to take the stance until you at least acquire enough to where it's beneficial for you to endorse both.
yeah, yeah, for sure. All right. What else, we don't have to belabor all the red in the market for too much longer. It's gonna keep God, just it's ugly.
See,
Some of the meme coin charts not looking too hot either. I might buy
see,
I might mog a little bit. That's one of the few that I think has some potential long term that I'm not a
I mean,
holder of.
reiterating, definitely not financial
Definitely
advice,
not financial advice.
but for you being as locked in as you are, I think you could definitely benefit from being involved with the first culture coin on ETH. It's another lifestyle. Like if you're locked in, you can really mog some people at the gym. I know you work out at home. So maybe your son's just sitting there and you're just like breaking through a new PR on deadlift. You're like, get mogged. And he's just real confused sitting there, like, I don't know what that is,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'll get
two and a
mogged.
half years old and not really knowing what any of that
Hmm.
is good. Yeah, that I got a little bit of dry powder. I don't know. I think I can. I'm pretty conservative for the most part. As conservative as someone who's deeply involved in crypto can be,
Yeah.
I'm fairly conservative. So maybe I'll throw a little nibble at that.
I
What
mean,
are you keeping your eye on this week besides trying to do some of the scalp trading? Like, are you anything you're trying to accumulate here, either on the stock side or the crypto side?
now that you've said Mog, it kind of has me thinking of going into some memes. And here's why, right? We spoke about it a little bit, Kevin and I, when I was last on here. But this thesis that I think it was Must Stop Murad on Twitter, he had that memes just make a lot more sense to retail than layer two and like tech
Mhm.
coins, most alts, right? So trying to explain to someone like, hey, this is Skibbity Toilet Coin or this is Mog, right? Versus, hey, this is layer zero. It's an interoperable bridge between every chain and it
I
has all these
just fell
fragmented
asleep to you
liquidity
saying
systems
that.
across Target, right? It's like you're already rolling your eyes at me. Like by the time I could finish that sentence, you've got pit vipers on, you're pointing and laughing and you're yelling, get mogged. You
Well,
know,
and there's
like
with
it's that's
some of these new platforms coming online that make it easier for people to
oh
buy
yeah, like
meme coins as
Moonshot. Like
well.
I
Yeah.
can go buy Mog with credit card. Um, Actually, I have to give a hat tip to them. I downloaded the app. I haven't actually used the app yet, but I wanted to just see what the UI UX felt like. Today, while I was texting you and Kevin complaining about all of my TradFi accounts, all their apps being offline, couldn't log in on their websites either, I get a push notification from Moonshot. Here, let me read it real quick. Um, it says Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, and more are offline, but Moonshot isn't fully operational. Come trade. And I was just like, brilliant. If you want to, like, that right there is one of the things that people talk about all the time for the market, right? With crypto
Yeah.
is the capital efficiency nonstop. It's like if you want to get people over, especially with memes, that right there is just marketing 101.
Yeah, no, they're doing a good job so far, and I think it's going to keep pushing more people to meme coins. So something we can talk about more on a later episode. Anything else that you think is noteworthy before we wrap this bad boy up?
Yeah, honestly, there's not too much I would look at until or like personally accumulating other than memes until the bottom's in because memes, I mean, there is no bottom. I love you, whoever trades memes, but there is no bottom at some point, liquidity is going to be gone. I'll probably start to go into some gaming tokens that I like. And maybe as much as I just, gave the opposite thesis, I'll probably go into some L2 tokens um, and just kind of look for that multiple when ETH and Bitcoin go back up, assuming that they follow past cycles and we get a little bit of a bounce on them. But I probably won't scatter it and just shotgun it. I'll probably try and actually work through a few theses on what I feel could be relevant this next cycle, or at least whatever I think could be, the most beneficial for me, rather than just be like, okay, op, R, blast, mode, everything, L2, L2, L3, right? Like I think the era of that is over.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I think that's gonna about wrap it up then. A lot going on. Don't right now, just don't overreact. Okay. Like I think people try to do too much right now. And there's some opportunities. Like if let's say you bought higher and you've had some gains throughout the year, it's okay to maybe sell, take take an L on something, just, keep in mind the wash trading rules and all that stuff. But, if you want to take a little tax loss harvest there, not the end of the world. But if you're sitting like that's I've talked about before, like I bought a lot of my Bitcoin, like the majority of it back 2022. And I'm still, very much up on that. And I just can't, I'm not going to sell that and then try to like time the bottom. So like be smart here. Don't get overly emotional when it comes to this stuff. And please, if you're over leveraged, de-risk a bit. Like it's a lot of people are going to get wrecked right now. And I hope none of the people that watch this show are in that group.
I will add in my two favorite times to sell unsellable NFTs that are just sitting in my hidden folder are right after a market dumps when everyone's upset. So the gas fees are super low and ETH is cheap, or right around Christmas because it tends to be a similar period of low volume activity and the market being low because everyone's selling crypto to buy stuff for Christmas. So yeah, if you've got, like a nice $10,000 from 2021 worth of losses to, just maybe you got some.
I have a bet with someone on the floor price of Pudgy Penguins by March 1st of next year. So I may be buying a Pudgy at some point just as a
It's a
hedge
hedge.
or a
Yeah.
middle opportunity. The
What?
bet,
What's your side?
my side is that it will be under a 20 ETH floor by March 1st. So with where they're at right now, like the best case scenario is I buy one at like 8 ETH and it ends at like 15. So I win the 1 ETH bet and I can sell for a profit there. But that's the side I'm on, and I'm looking for a nice middle opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, we've seen crazier things happen for the price to go up that much, but I think from a rationality standpoint, I side with you on that bet.
I really like I do think at some point there is going to be another NFT, not like what we saw in 2021 or 2022. That was beyond crazy. But I do think we are going to see some liquidity re-enter that market at some point, and maybe we'll talk about it on here. But I'm curious. What do you think about, like, we'll wrap up in a minute. If you don't want to hear about NFT talk, just, have a nice day. But like, do you think that we're going to see another NFT pseudo bull run?
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's like I don't I don't see the same level of price inflation for the thinly veiled, hey, we might make something, but right now it's all about community and community is worth $1 million type deal. Um, right. But I think if someone finds a way to drive enough demand into a speculative product that's masquerading as an NFT, I think that's where it comes in, right? Like if someone wraps up some new like AI technology and figures out how to verify it as like I don't really know what it looks like, but I don't think it comes in the shape of pastel and colorful generative trade art pieces. Like I don't think the PFP meta runs it back, but that's not to say that NFTs themselves can't have some sort of run again.
Yeah, I think there's, when you look at some of them, like Doodles, Pudgy Penguins, I think they are kind of positioning themselves to have some life in the future.
Mhm.
There's active teams doing a lot of stuff. So I think finding those ones, question then becomes like, how, like, realistically, how much higher can they go? Like, because
Yeah.
2022 is the perfect storm, right? It was people had a bunch of money saved up because they weren't able to travel and go out and do all these things. Plus, they had a little stimmy money. Plus, the markets were pumping. So it's like, I don't know if we'll see a level of liquidity like that anytime soon. And is what is needed to
Yeah, like I
drive
could I
money
could
back
see
in NFTs.
something almost where like there's a new influx of a lot of cash, but it concentrates on like say Luca and Pudgy's Crush It. Same thing with Julian and Doodles, right? I could see something where like people who are within crypto who are holders or who aren't holders realize they can't invest in the project. So their beta and speculation is the NFT, right? Like
Yeah.
assuming those companies don't go public and there's no actual way to like bet quote unquote on their future. I think that's where the NFT or NFT fi becomes the speculative vehicle through which you bet on the team um, until there's a public offering or the company remains private and unless there becomes another way to capture that speculative value, and maybe that's through like the ERC DN 404 experimental standard, but I feel like that's too much of a rabbit hole to start diving into right now.
I don't even, I can't wrap my head around that at the moment.
Yeah.
All right. I think we are going to end it on that note right there. A little NFT talk to wrap up the day. I hope everyone has a great week. It could get pretty hectic. So, stay calm, cool, and collected if you can. Maybe don't look at the charts if you don't need to, or maybe don't open in your portfolio for a while. Everything will be fine eventually. So if you have not yet, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Kind of a weird week with Kevin working. I know House is busy. So not sure if we're going to be able to get on for another show. So turn those notifications on just in case. But appreciate all of you for being here with us. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.